They didn't train you to obey, they trained you to call obedience safety. Hi, I'm Melanie, your witchy mother, and today we are going somewhere I lived for a very long time. We're talking about what high control systems actually do to your inner knowing. Not the obvious stuff like the rules and the scripture and the belt, the subtle stuff. The stuff that's still running in your body right now, even though you walked out of that church, that marriage, that house years ago. If you've done the therapy, read the books, know all the right words for what happened to you, and you still hear a voice in your chest that sounds an awful lot like your pastor or your father when you try to make a decision that's yours, this is for you. We're going to talk about what I call the compliance cult. And I don't mean cult in the dramatic way. I mean the slow, methodical, incredibly effective way that high control systems train you to not trust yourself and then convince you that mistrust is wisdom. Let's get into it. Compliance isn't just following rules. It's having your own knowing systematically replaced, rule by rule, correction by correction, until the voice that was yours gets buried so deep that you forget it was ever there at all. I grew up with a rule book that you would not believe. No TV shows or movies with worldly messages. No cussing, no makeup, no nail polish, no earrings that moved when you shook your head, no skirts above the knee, no talking back, no questioning the pastor, no questioning my parents. And I was obedient, genuinely, because I understood, even without being told explicitly, that obedience was the price of safety. I've been working since I was 12, started with a paper route, that's how old I am. And all during my teens, I had bought my clothes with my own money. And it was little acts of rebellion, like I would buy black shirts because that's what I wanted when my mom wanted me to wear, flowery dresses. It was the kind of rebellion that feels enormous when you've never been allowed to just dress like yourself. One day, I was at work and my mother went into my room and threw all of my clothes away. Every single piece. Literally, all I had was the clothes that I went to work with. So I called the police, which felt like heresy, like I had committed the ultimate sin, like lightning was about to strike me where I stood. And that night, she kicked me out. And I ended up moving in with a man who would become my first husband. Another authority figure standing in line to take my voice. And that's how compliance compounds. One system just hands you to the next. What I want you to understand is that this isn't about bad parenting or even bad theology necessarily. It is a very specific technology of control. High control systems, whether that's a fundamentalist church, an abusive family system, a cult, or a high-demand marriage, they all run the same basic software. And the software has one job: get you to outsource your authority. Here's how they do it. Step 1, they install an external authority: God, scripture, the pastor, the father, the husband. Someone whose judgment is presented as more reliable than yours, more righteous, more safe. Step 2, they pathologize your knowing. Your gut feeling is pride. Your anger is sin. Your doubt is spiritual weakness. Your desire is the flesh. Every signal that your body sends that says something is wrong here gets reframed as evidence of your own corruption. Step 3, they reward compliance visibly. You're praised for softness, for smallness, for not causing problems. The good girl gets chosen, gets celebrated, and is safe. Step 4, they punish deviation quietly. It doesn't always look like a punishment. Sometimes it's a look, a silence, a withdrawal of warmth. Sometimes it's a belt. In my case, it was a wooden spoon, but the wooden spoon was okay because they drew a smiley face on it, and it wasn't their hand hitting me, it was the spoon hitting me. But the message is always the same. Your instincts cannot be trusted. We know better. Come back inside the lines. A little follow-up story showing the control that they have that happened after I was kicked out and I had to live with my future husband. The church that I had gone to in my late teens sent me a letter saying that I have been excommunicated from the church and I can't rely on them anymore. And I was like, meh, no loss. Here's the piece that wrecks me every time I say it out loud. This shit works. It works because it starts when you're small, a little infant, and your survival literally does depend on these people. So your nervous system files it correctly. Obedience equals belonging equals safety. And your nervous system doesn't give a damn that you're 42 now. It still runs the same file. What was the first rule you remember internalizing as, this keeps me safe? Let me know in the comments. So what does mistrust look like in the body? I want to get really specific here because this is where the work lives. The compliance training doesn't just live in your thoughts, it lives in your body. And when you start making choices from your own authority, your body will often react as if you're in danger, because to your nervous system, you are. This is why women who leave high control systems will spend years doing all the right healing work and still freeze when it's time to make a decision that's purely theirs. Still checking, still waiting, still asking, is this okay? Is this allowed? Am I sure? And it's not because there's anything wrong with this. It's because our body was taught that your knowing is the threat. Think about this. Every time you had an instinct and someone you depended on told you it was wrong, it's pride, weakness, rebellion, or dangerous. Your nervous system learned to treat that instinct as a hazard signal. Your gut becomes the thing to override, not the thing to trust. So now you're out, you've left, but your body is still running the old program. And the voice that sounds like yours, the quiet one that says, yes, do this, or no, don't, something's off. You've been trained to treat that voice with suspicion. And that's not a problem with your mindset. That's what obedience conditioning does to your inner knowing. I want to name something specific here for the women who are already in the work, who've done the therapy, who've journaled, who know intellectually that their intuition is valid, but still can't quite hear it cleanly. The training doesn't uninstall from understanding alone. You can know something is a lie and still feel it running. The knowing in your chest doesn't care about your insight. It cares about repetition, sensation, and evidence, which means the path back is not more analysis, it's practice. Body-based, repeated, low-stakes practice. Choosing from your own authority in tiny moments until your nervous system slowly but surely starts to file a new entry. My knowing is safe. My knowing is mine. For me, the crack came on a Tuesday night after I'd left. No drama, no epiphany, no beam of light from the ceiling. I was sitting alone in a house that was mine, genuinely mine, with nobody else's opinion in it, and I turned on a crime drama, something I had never been allowed to watch. Too dark, too worldly. And I sat there in the quiet watching two detectives talk about a murder case, and I thought, there's no one here to tell me this is wrong or weird. That was the moment I realized how thoroughly I'd been indoctrinated, not just in the big things, but in the mundane, daily, invisible things. The shows I watched, the clothes I wore, the food I let myself want, the thoughts I let myself think before I patrolled them back into acceptable territory. The cult of compliance doesn't only live in churches or in abusive marriages. It lives in those micro moments of self-patrol. The ones so automatic you don't even clock them. The flinch before you say what you think. The I don't know when you do. The shrinking to fit through a doorway that is in fact wide enough for all of you. That's where your knowing went. It's still in there. It never left. It's just been trained to whisper and then trained to apologize for whispering. What's something small, criminally small, that you weren't allowed to do or like or want? Drop it in the comments. Let's name some things. I want to be honest with you about something. Sovereignty doesn't feel like power at first. It feels dangerous. It feels wrong. The first time you choose from your own authority, really choose, not perform choosing, it will feel like you're breaking a rule, because you are. Every system that owned your obedience built a rule that said your knowing is not the authority here. So when you start trusting your knowing, you're breaking that rule. In your body, that's indistinguishable from danger at first. This is why I don't teach sovereignty as a concept. I teach it as a practice. something you do in small moments over and over until your body starts to recognize the feeling. Sovereignty is not confidence. It's not certainty. It's not even knowing what you want all the time. It's returning again and again to your own knowing as the first place you check, before you ask someone else, before you look for permission, before you check whether it's allowed. You first. Not you only. We are human. We are relational. We are built for community. But you first. And I want you to know that this is not selfish. This is not rebellion for its own sake. This is what you were before they got to you, before the rules, before the compliance training started. You knew things. You felt things. You had a knowing so clear and clean, it was almost unbearable to be around you. They trained that out of you because it was inconvenient for the system. You're just reclaiming it back. If any of this moved something in you, if you felt it more than heard it, I want to invite you into something. Every month, I run a live workshop called The Witch in the Pew. It's a real-time ritual experience specifically for women who left high control systems and are learning to reclaim their own authority. If you want the details, the link is in the description and pinned in the comments. And if you're newer here and not quite ready, I have a free Sinner's Grimoire for you. 5 spells for glamour, protection, money, deconditioning, and receiving. The link for that is also in the description. It's a good first step. I'll see you next week.